This is going to spark the comments. Hello down there. So let's just make some stuff clear. So I've really enjoyed AEW this year, and seeing guys like MJF come of age and just seeing Tony Storm become the most best bonkers character ever has made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. And I will never forget that wrestling having proper competition is best for all of us. And when I look at the entire industry, I actually think it's in a pretty good place. That doesn't mean the promotion is infallible or there's not stuff we should criticize. And if you do go online at the moment, there is a lot of worried faces. Do not worry, my friends, because AEW will rebound, if you could even call it that, in 2024. Why? Let's do it together. Take your hands. It's weird. Here's why. So let's address the elephant in the room to begin with. Hello, Nelly. Attendances. Yep. Now, I do think we get too carried away with these numbers, but because we are living in a social media age, sometimes a fan goes to an event, they put their butt in the seats, they look around and go, man, it's quite empty in here, they snap a picture, and before you know it, everyone is having a chat. All of a sudden, the end is nigh and everything's going to die, and it is very dramatic. And sure, if you do compare 2022 with 2023, you can't argue it. When it comes to people that are going to see AEW shows, it's kind of moving in the wrong direction. Now, look, we also have to throw Wembley in there when they pulled an amazing crowd, but even then, a lot of individuals thought, oh my gosh, they can use this as a catalyst to get some more momentum. And that has kind of happened, but maybe not to the intensity that we expected. It's also the easiest way to make the argument that AEW is cold right now, because look at these pictures, and that never quite sits right with me. Now again, of course, you do want those number figures, but when it comes to a crowd, it's not about seeing them, it's about feeling them. And every now and then you tune into Dynamite, they've only got a few thousand humans, but holy crap, they are going so crazy. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm pumped too, plug me in. Even with that though, the previous 12 months have seen some metrics kind of go all over the place. And now there is a contingent that is very worried about AEW. So let's just take 3 specific things and we shall discuss them. I mean, mostly it comes down to the fact that maybe it doesn't feel like the unique company that it used to be, because 1, we are now putting a focus on aging talent or veteran talent or legendary talent. 2, there is a bit of a mismatch because the AEW and ROH lines get very blurred. 3, there is too much ha-ha, funny or goofy wrestling for life. So, we'll start with part 1. Yeah, I get it. If you have been watching since day one, it's been so cool to see a Daniel Garcia or a Britt Baker or a Hook make them way up the ladder, because maybe if we were just living in a WWE world, such individuals would have never gotten their due. I mean, take someone like Darby Allin, and he knows this as well. If you go back to like, I don't know, 2016, they wouldn't have even taken a second look at Darby. And do you know how crazy it is? That guy is money. It's also just been wonderful to be introduced to a sports entertainer and see how they do grow and develop. I mean, it's like having a child and taking them to school. It's not like that, but now I've said it. Now, of course, on the other end of this scale, you have an Adam Copeland, you have a Christian Cage, you've got a flipping Ric Flair, you've got a Dustin Rhodes, you've got a Billy Gunn, and you've got a Jake Roberts. Other names I'm probably not even thinking about right now. The thing is though, Sting has been used brilliantly. Adam Copeland to me still feels like a big deal. Christian is the best heel in all of wrestling at the moment. Dustin only pops up here and there. Gunn does everything to try and get the Acclaimed over. And to reel another name in, Big Show / Paul White, well, he was only around for a cup of coffee. So if you didn't like it, you could have just turned your back to it and ignored it. That's right, there's stuff on the back of the t-shirt. And I do get the image of AEW, because if all of a sudden you do tune in randomly and you see these guys, it's a bit like watching old school TNA, but that's also ignoring Swerve Strickland, that excellent Garcia versus MJF World title match we just randomly did on Dynamite, or everything we've done with Julia Hart, which she's had a terrific few months. So clearly for some, All Elite Wrestling has lost some of its balance, but from my vantage point, as soon as that noise did get into Tony Khan's ear, he did start to change some stuff, and all of a sudden, some of the younger under-the-radar talent was being featured on our screens. So the fact that he responded should give you all the confidence moving into 2024. He listens. It's like that Cody Rhodes gift. And moving on to point 2, I'm not entirely sure what we are going to do with the All Elite Wrestling Ring of Honor connection. And once again, I do agree with you. Sometimes the lines are a bit blurred, and you're like, why are there so many championships? And why has everybody got one? I mean, the Embassy won their Ring of Honor 6-man titles back from the Young Bucks recently, or the Hung Bucks, I should say. And most people just did shrug emoji. You don't want that. When you do have a championship change hands, you want to feel the very ground shaking. So I do think drawing a harder line would actually be good from a perspective point of view, but once again I have a counterpoint. It comes in the form of Samoa Joe, who is actually sat in my hand. But he's just been so damn good in 2023, and he made that TV title mean something, and it never actually mattered who he was facing because of the way he carries himself. It was like, oh man, this feels like a big deal. So it's not all bad once again, and maybe the tide is turning, and hopefully when we do get into the new year, this can be something that is addressed. I mean, take Ethan Page or Anthony Ogogo. They have been on ROH TV recently, and it almost feels like we've hit a reset button with them. And I think that would be a great proving ground for dudes that do need to do this, and hopefully they too can find some momentum and make their way back to Dynamite. I mean, I love Ethan and Anthony, and if they are able to do that, it's just going to feel even more special. And in terms of number 3, well, you've watched any of my stuff, you and I are just going to have to agree to disagree. I totally understand it if you don't like the Roderick Strong neck stuff, or you think the Adam Cole MJF skits go a little bit too far. But as I've been saying for a good while now, I do believe in goofy wrestling for life, especially because wrestling has always been this way. Like, honestly, go and find some kind of show from the 70s. If you watch enough of them, all of a sudden, they too get ridiculous, because wrestling can't help itself. And at the risk of repeating myself too, I get why you would want to turn this off, but when you have 52 weeks of programming a year, it can't just be Serious 9000, Serious 9000. Otherwise you walk away going, man, oh geez, that was such a hard watch. Why couldn't someone have just turned up in a clown outfit? There's also the point that if you do want this other side, well, you got it. Kenny Omega versus Vikingo, Kenny versus MJF, FTR versus the Bullet Club, Hangman versus Mox 3, and pretty much everything Bryan Danielson did on TV. And again, we are just talking about television here. I ain't even moving into pay-per-view. So again, you are being catered for. Just every hour or so, you may have to deal with a man walking around going, Adam, my neck. So ultimately, we have touched upon this, but I think it is the biggest crutch of the matter. I do feel like Tony Khan is hearing this stuff, and he's kind of changing direction as best he can. Like, you can't listen to everybody because that would create an even bigger mess, because Jack is going to want one thing and Sarah's going to be wanting something else. And really, wrestling is a balancing act. I think I've said that once already. You have to find this happy medium, or lean totally to one side and alienate a different part of your audience. But again, go through all the years of AEW so far, I don't think that's what they're going for. But with TV contracts to be signed soon and more money to be made, no, I don't think AEW is all of a sudden going to fall off a cliff. Those saying that are a little bit nuts and have been wishing for AEW's demise since the beginning. And yeah, you do you, man. I think you're a bit of a loon. You also do have to remember, whether you like it or not, it still does count as an upstart. So before you totally lose your mind, sit down and go through the last 12 months. And I bet you're a bit surprised how much of it you actually love. Because that's where the focus could be, because nobody is more important to you. And don't pretend that the AEW powers that be don't know in 2021 that's when they had their first peak. They're going to do everything to try and get back there. But it's just the nature of the beast that you're going to get ups and downs, obviously. Who knows more about that than me? No one. We've kind of already touched upon this already. Between Dynamite, Rampage and Collision, they are putting on 156 shows a year. So if you are tuning in with the expectation that every single one is going to be a home run, well, you're setting yourself up for failure, my buddy, because nobody but nobody is going to have that kind of ratio. So I do feel very excited about what 2024 may offer, especially because this could be the time we introduce more pay-per-views. Now, goodbye to my sleep schedule, which is already in the toilet, but as we have seen, that does allow you to focus your stories a little bit more, and it allows you to utilize more of your talent. And people want that, so you are going to get it, and if we can also make sure we put a bigger emphasis onto women's wrestling, and go back to the likes of Sammy Guevara, Bandido, Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, Takeshita, Hook, and a bunch of other people I haven't mentioned, then hell to the yeah, something good is going to come out of it. Also remember, and this isn't a dig, I don't mean this as an insult, but you don't have to watch. Sometimes I talk to people and they're clearly not having a good time at all. I'm like, for the love of everything, please, just walk away from your screen and go outside and smell the air. Like, wrestling is great, it's one of my favorite things in the world. But is it that important? No, not really. Because remember, my friends, there is nothing more valuable to you than time. Make sure you use that time wisely. Who thought we were going to end here? You probably did if you've watched my videos before. It's getting a bit silly-billy now, but I also stand by it. I hope you do too. Now, look, we get to the big part here. Make sure you leave me a comment below and actually give me an intellectual answer. Don't just say AEW's rubbish and I don't like it. I would enjoy getting into a proper debate. You can also like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click this wonderful video somewhere on the screen to make sure you watch another one of my daft videos, obviously, and my stupid bald head. Go to whatculture.com where you can read articles like this with your eyes and get even more enraged. And you can come rage on social media. What Culture WWE? Simon316 if you really want to get in there personal like. My name is Simon from What Culture, and yes, I know, Simon, you're so positive. Well, it's not a faux positivity. I think WWE's done great. I think AEW's done great. Impact Wrestling is on a roll. New Japan is finding its feet again. And there's so many other companies that will absolutely offer you something depending on what it is you're looking for. Try and approach wrestling that way. I promise you'll have a better time. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon.